Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ English, your favorite UPSC platform in India. In this topic, let's talk about a deal that dates back to 2014. Now, in 2014, Russia and China had signed a $400 billion deal. This was the gas supply deal, which would bypass any areas of Europe and directly supply gas from Russia to China via Mongolia. Today, once again in 2025, both the countries are back on table. And as the world grapples with a very serious geopolitical problem, where US imposes sanctions on Russian crude oil and gas, where Russia is becoming the top gas and oil supplier to countries like India and China, China and Russia, the age-old friendship that they have, once again signed the Power of Siberia 2, that is the POS 2. It is a pipeline, a proposed project that shall begin from Russia and it will end in China. The purpose is to export gas from Western Siberia to northern China through the eastern Mongolian region. Now it aims to deliver about 50 billion cubic meters of gas annually for the coming 30 years. The agreement is a great strategic move by Russia. The purpose is to diversify Russian gas exports as not only US but also the countries of European Union continue to impose sanctions on Russia. Now all these NATO supporting countries believe that Russia's war in Ukraine is coming to no final conclusion. And in that light, they do not want to lift any sanction on Russia. They do want Russian economy to suffer. They do not want to support Russia so that it continues its war in Ukraine. And hence, US and the EU countries, including Germany, including France, all of them are willing to continue sanctions on Russian oil exports. Now, what choices do Russia have? Naturally, India is also dealing with a heavy 50% tariff burden. In that case, apart from India, it is in fact China that's emerging as the biggest importer of Russian crude oil and Russian gas. Hence come the Power of Serbia 2 pipeline. Now let's understand that all of this began in 2022 as Russia-Ukraine went on to a war. 3 years later, the war is still lingering on in phases, in highs and lows, but there is no final conclusion. So, therefore, Russia knows that it has no market for its oil and gas now in EU. So, what choice does Russia have rather than inking a great step by making a tie with China? Now, this will provide a long term solution to both the countries. China is one of the leading importers of gas and oil in the world. So, this Power of Serbia too will not only take care of China's energy security, but it will also provide a stable market for Russia's gas and oil, which have lost their demand in Europe and America. So, which route will this long, ambitious gas pipeline follow? It starts from the Yamal Arctic fields in Western Siberia. Again, Western Siberia happens to be one such region that's rich in oil and gas reserves. Owing to the lack of mining here, owing to decades of oil deposition in within the snowfields, this is one resource-rich area. So therefore, for Russia, it could be a great promise of energy security in future as well. So the pipeline starts here in the Arctic fields of Western Siberia and it passes through eastern Mongolia. Then it reaches to northern China, and no wonder the pipeline will provide 50 billion cubic meters of gas for another 3 decades to come. Now, this will also be a backup as a complement to the existing POS2 supplement line, which was created long back in 2014 by both the countries. And the pipeline also, once again, is a proof of the stable Russia China partnership and relationship. Both the countries together are not only an opposing force to America's hegemony, but also they are trying to challenge the domination of themselves in the LNG global market. That's the liquefied natural gas market. Because we all know that most countries today are willing to make a transition towards renewable energy. And many of them are focusing on natural gas based economy. India, again, is one example here. Hence, this joint venture by Russia China could mean a mutual benefit to both of them. And it completely bypasses other Western powers. Now, this Power of Serbia too, for your exam, do remember it's also known as the Altai gas pipeline. Okay, the project will strengthen energy cooperation between both the countries and It will also help them sustain the ongoing pressure of sanctions that keeps coming from US time and again. Now, the pipeline has, although, been criticized by certain environmental protection groups who claim that the region in a particular area from where the pipeline passes, named as the Ukok Plateau, quite important for the places in the news. The pipeline shall traverse through the Ukok Plateau, but this also happens to be one of the very well known habitats of snow leopards. Now, snow leopards again are a very, very endangered species. A very good question from GS paper 3 here could be that which three countries are leading when it comes to the population of snow leopard? We know that India is one, but then which are the others? So here, the Ukok Plateau is known for inhabiting the endangered snow leopards, and therefore, through the construction of pipeline, their habitat may be threatened in future. That's one worry environmental protectors are having. And at the same time, let's also see that when it comes to overall oil production, which are the leading countries in the world in 2025? Well, it happens to be US. Now we know that US oil, the Texas oil, is quite popular in the world because it is also known as the sweet crude oil. It has a very low sulfur content, sometimes even less than 1%, and therefore it's very efficient and easy to use. It doesn't need heavy investment in refining and mining once again. So, therefore, the demand is very high. At the same time, the price is very high as well. This is the reason why, in fact, India was quite happy to continue importing from Russia. Because although the oil that comes from Russia is the Ural mountain oil, it is quite high in sulfur content. It's pretty acidic, it's pretty sour due to the high sulfur, and hence it does need more refining before you can use it across various machineries. And this is the whole conflict all about. India feels that if Russian oil is cheaper, owing to it being sour, owing to the fact that after war with Ukraine, Russia is experiencing sanctions, so Russia has reduced the price of its oil. So for India, it is a win win situation. It's also a time saving technique to bring oil from Russia rather than to depend on American or West Asian markets. So the top oil producing countries would be the US. It produces about 20.1 million barrels per day. Second is Saudi Arabia. Now, another interesting thing to know is that the total 80% of global oil is commanded by the OPEC countries together. Okay, now one of them being Saudi Arabia, it is also the second largest oil producer. About 10.9 million barrels per day is the production. And then comes Russia. Russia is the third largest here with about 10.8% barrels, million barrels each day. And if we are talking about the producers, then we should also know who are the top oil consumers. I think this is easy to guess. Yes, we have US as the first, then comes China, and then comes India. So we are right when we claim that India might soon become the third leading largest economy of the world. If that's the reason, then of course India's demand for energy, crude oil, natural gas is only going to increase as times pass by because we have a massive economy and massive energy need to take care of. Although we are experimenting with the renewable energy, but then that's time taking. It again needs a heavy investment, and India does need to do something to promote more foreign investment in the renewable sector. Hence, today, India does depend on coal in a big way for energy production. And of course, India's oil demand is also very, very high. As I was talking to you about Ural Mountains, now do remember, because such questions are very common in prelims, this has again been in news. This time it has been in news owing to the oil supply. Now, many people say Ural Mountains are a vertical mountain belt that almost acts like a geographical divide between Europe and Asia. Well, that's valid if you see the map. But it's more important for its geostrategic importance, which is that the oil that's produced in the Ural Mountain region is the main cause of Russian oil income. And this oil that comes from the Volga Urals and the Western Siberian region is also a benchmark for pricing Russian oil exports. Now, it is typically sold, as I said, at a slight lighter price, at a discounted rate as compared to the more sweet, sulfur free oil that comes from Brent. Because people believe that the Ural oil, being quite sour, is slightly lower in quality. Now, if you want to know more about issues like the Brent uh, source, or if you want to know more about the Texas, or if you want to know more about the benchmarking of Siberian oil, then do let me know. I can have a separate video about all these things. And before we do that, here's a quick question for you. Consider the following statements regarding Russian crude oil exports to India. 1. Russia has emerged as the leading supplier of crude oil in India in the last few years. It has surpassed traditional suppliers like Iraq and Saudi Arabia. 2. The majority of Russian crude oil is imported by India and it consists of the Ural grade oil, the Ural mountain region, which is typically sold at a lesser price as compared to the Brent oil. And 3. Payments for Russian crude oil, which India imports, are entirely settled in US dollars through SWIFT transactions. I think apart from the third statement, the first two are quite easy and straightforward. Try to answer the question, it helps you revise. And if you need more topics like that, if you want to know more about oil capping, oil pricing, then definitely post your comment in the comment section. And if you enjoy short videos like these, which give you pinpoint raw material for your answer writing, then do like, do share, and do subscribe to Study IQ English. Thank you.